You were with the illustrious Dave Attel the other night.
Yeah, in Brooklyn. This is how brilliant Dave Attel is, and quick. Some woman had two stuck in her for 6 days.
Oh!
To which Dave said, and then she rested.
Guys, welcome back to the All Good Things podcast. We're here in the shed, which a lot of people think is outdoors, but it's not. It's indoors. Our guests today, Randy and Jason Sklar.
Yes.
Amazing comedians, old friends of mine. Toddy on the left here. Mm-hmm. Hello, Todd.
It always surprises me with the
toss to you. He wasn't ready. Todd wasn't ready for it.
No, Todd on the left here.
That was. What are you doing?
I was just saying hello.
Hey, how you doing? It always surprises me with the people you know.
With who I know them all. I know them all. They don't call me anymore, but I know them all.
Oh, come on. We call you once every year.
Great to see you guys.
Great to see you, Nash.
What is new in the land of stand-up comedy? Dads, we're going to talk about stand-up comedy. We're going to talk about being a dad. We're going to tell Todd some old stories.
Great.
Todd might even chip in with a new story.
Yeah, I'm here to listen and learn.
Okay. Great, and then we'll bear witness to his story.
You were with the illustrious Dave Attel the other night.
Yeah, in Brooklyn.
Probably with a huge entourage.
No, Dave came solo with a pack of cigarettes.
That's a joke. That's a joke.
Yeah, exactly.
Of course.
Dave Entourage is the physical manifestation of an old black sweatshirt.
Yes.
You know what I mean? He was wearing a hat that was all black. I'm like, what are you? What team does that root for? Are you trying to hide? And he kind of is, but he's so funny on stage.
He's the funniest carny you'll ever meet.
So we did a bit in our show. We have a podcast called Dumb People Town, and every year, which you've done, Nash, and you're going to do again.
Yes. I'll be there
We
Tuesday.
do a thing when we do it live where Dan Van Kirk, our co-host, gets a list of things that have been stuck inside of us as people.
Yeah.
And it starts with the ears, nose, mouth, and then it goes
We go
down
through every
some.
orifice. In 2023, these are the things that the medical journals of America said this was stuck in people in the United States at this time.
And this is how brilliant Dave Attel is, and quick. So Dan's just going through the list, and if we have a joke, we throw it out.
Right.
So Dan's like, some woman had two dildos stuck in her ass for 6 days.
Oh!
To which Dave said, and then she rested. She's the Lord. And then he said, some woman had a dreidel in her vagina, and I said it was supposed to be there for 1 day, but it stayed up there for 8 days, which is the miracle of Hanukkah.
That's right. So that was really fun. So
I won't stop staring.
So we just did that, and Chloe Trost from SNL, and it was at the Bell House.
Chloe Trost, yes.
Really
Ted
good.
Leo played music. It was great, man.
Ted
it was
Leo.
Just
so
a beautiful
fun.
show, and the fans were great, and that room is so great.
The Bell House is fun.
It's like you feel that floor, and it's just magical.
You're in Brooklyn. You're also New York is where we started together, where we all met.
Yeah.
The vibe of New York when you have
It's kind of moved to Brooklyn, in my opinion. Yes, there's the Comedy Cellar, and there are great comedy clubs in New York, but I feel like it's moved out to Brooklyn.
There's just tons of shows there that you can go
tons
to.
of shows and young
Venues.
people. I'm like, to the people in the crowd, I'm like, how did you know to come here? It's just so great.
Cool.
The network of people who love comedy and who love performing.
My son is going to school in New York
That's right.
in 2 weeks, and I'm like,
Amazing.
because I remember when I moved to New York when I was 21, but I just remember just being that age.
Isn't that crazy? He'll be there 3 years before you went there.
Yeah, it's a wild ride to be in New York at that age and to be. Yeah. I don't think he could even fathom what's ahead of him. You know what it's like. You know what it's like stuff. In New York. New York's so great because it's you can go to a show, then you can. I was trying to explain it to him.
Go to a bar.
You go to a bar,
party.
Yeah. Then you meet somebody at the bar. Then you go to a party. Yeah. Then you're in Central Park. Yeah.
Then you're at the Corner Bistro. And you're having a
then you're at Corner Bistro.
3 a.m.
Right.
Oh, there'll be times where I know people, who hooked up with someone. And then that went fine. And then they left. And then they came back out. And they met people out again. And you're like, what? How did they?
That was like, I do this. I got to do laundry. I got a dinner party. I'm going to hook up with someone. Go back out to a party.
So the argument against comedy in New York is sometimes if you're going to do like a headlining set, like a full long set of comedy, it's hard to do in New York because for people, this is just point B of their night that goes all the way to D or E.
Right.
So like if you go to Omaha, Nebraska, or if you go to Minneapolis, their whole night is coming to see you do comedy.
Yeah.
So it's a little more exciting.
But you go to New York and people are just like texting about what's the next thing. What are we doing next? We don't care.
I got to hook up with someone and then go out again.
Go to the box.
You know, I mean, it's like, it's just amazing. Your son's going to love it. Like,
What do you think's cooler, being in the music scene or in the comedy scene in New York?
They're both cool.
You
They're
think so?
both so cool.
I would say the music scene's cooler.
Really? It's funny because I think the comedy scene has taken over. Like,
yeah.
You know, I don't know many, like Tony, we were just talking about Tony Hinchcliffe, who
love Tony Hinchcliffe.
Love him, know him. He's so great. His show killed. Tony just sold out 2 shows at Madison Square Garden. I don't think you can name a lot of young artists his age or at his level equivalent in music who could sell out Madison Square Garden once.
That's true.
Let alone twice.
Billy Joel.
That's wild.
I mean, Billy
Swift.
Joel, Elton John, Taylor Swift. I mean, I can't think.
Andrew Schultz sold it out.
Andrew Schultz sold it out. That's comedy. So comedy, or you go to look at Largo, which is such a great venue here in LA. Largo, Los Angeles. So cool.
The best place to see comedy in LA.
Ever.
I love it.
I love it.
Anywhere, maybe.
Totally.
Right. And you guys have been all over. You could probably attest to that.
We've been all over.
Better than the Cellar?
So I love the Cellar, and we love the Comedy Store. Comedy Store main room used to be a room that we're like, I don't know, but now that's like one of our favorite rooms to play.
Yeah.
You know where we started? So I love the Comedy Store, and we love the Improv, and we just started performing back at the Laugh Factory.
Yeah, I can't really make you choose.
No,
because
but
they all book you.
But Largo, but there is
not
a
a fair
vibe around.
question.
Yes, there is a vibe around Largo.
I can tell you as an audience member, Largo.
Something magical
Isn't something magical about it. You're just like
the way it's set up.
I mean, look, we did Largo. We do our show Tag It, where we have comics come up and Randy and I are sitting off to the side on stage. While they're performing, we're writing tags for their jokes, and a tag for those who don't
listening
know.
and we're like, okay, here's a pitch for the, and then after their set, we were quiet the whole time. If they could turn back and talk to us if they want, but like afterwards we come up and we're like, Jason Nash, everybody Nash, I love that bit you were doing about this. Here's my pitch. And I pitch you my joke. And it's funny because sometimes Jay and I, without even talking.
Is that your show, Tag It?
Yeah. Tag It.
So at Largo.
We've done it at Comedy Store, which is great, but at Largo, we'll be doing it, and we have a set group of comedians who are coming in, and then Mark Flanny, who runs Largo, is like, he's Irish. I can't even do Irish. I'm not going to try.
Todd's an acting class.
Oh, yeah. Todd, do an Irish accent.
Who the fuck is this guy over there?
Connor in the building.
What are you in the movie Layer Cake? So, Scallywag. So he is like, oh, by the way, Sandler's dropping in. He's going to do a set in your show. And you're like, great.
And then we'll do, you know.
Yeah.
And so there is just a sort of an aura.
Something tells me Sandler would love you guys for some
Sandler
reason.
did.
I don't know why.
He was so nice to our mom. Our mom happened to be in the crowd that
Really?
night. And Sandler goes to our mom. This is my favorite part. We brought mom back to meet him.
Right.
And he's like, to our mom, you should be so proud of these guys. They're so funny. And we're like, if you only knew our mom, like she's more proud of us than anything in the world. You're far underestimating what she is. You don't have to tell her.
Adam, you're a little off here.
You should be really proud of them too. They almost.
Yeah, no. Well, what's funny is like a lot
Take a knee, Adam.
So a lot of comedy comes from a lot of times people will have like horrible childhoods or really difficult times or a horrible relationship with their parents or whatever. And like ours is kind of the opposite, which is so funny, which is why I think our comedy is a little different than a lot of people.
Well, your dad died. That was sad.
Dad died, so thank God for comedy.
Right. No, thank God for that.
What kind of stand-up did you do after your dad died?
We told a story about. There was a kind of a funny story that happened, and
it's like a 25-year bit. We wrote the first half
favorite
of it.
Kind of bits.
Yeah, the first half of it, like not 25 years long. 25. It happened over 25 years. So the first thing that happened was when we were 12 years old. And every time we tell the story, it brings like our dad back to life. So we started telling the story just to like evoke the thought of him. When we were 12 years old, there was a baseball player in St. Louis named Ozzie Smith, famous Hall of Fame shortstop.
Like, you know what he'd do? This is how cool he was. Okay, you too young for you, but like you're too young for this. But every game, home game in St. Louis, when he took the field at shortstop, he would do a round off and do a flip,
backflip,
backflip.
Ozzie Smith. I remember Ozzie Smith
For the Cardinals.
For the Cardinals, go back a while. You guys watch footage of it. It's unbelievable.
Probably the best defensive shortstop of all time.
Right,
okay?
Hall of Famer.
This is the kind of thing that fires them up. Talking about Ozzie Smith.
Okay, so Ozzie Smith has this restaurant in St. Louis, creatively named Ozzie's. Could have done better. Could have called it the Shortstop. Could have called it Gold Glovers. Could have called it Turn in Two. Ozzie's. All right. So
Deep in the Hole.
that's his strip club. That's his strip club.
The strip club is called Deep in the Hole.
Although, if Tiger Woods had a strip club, it'd be called Get in the Hole. Okay.
Deep in the hole.
So Ozzie Smith has this restaurant, and we're 12, and
We're like to our
idolizing this guy.
parents, like, you gotta take us.
to
We want to
Ozzie's.
go to Ozzy's, and our dad was like,
Hilariously.
You remember our dad? You met our dad.
Yeah, I
mean,
remember.
Dad was like, no, it's overpriced chicken fingers. Why are we ever take you there?
We're not taking you there. And so
We just hammered them as 12-year-olds would do, 11-year-olds. They were 11 or 12.
You're a dad, when your kids want something so badly, they don't stop.
He gives them everything.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you cave as a parent. Now that
After a while, it wears on you, and you're like, God, just to get you to shut up, I'm doing this.
You gotta take us Ozzy. You gotta take us out. Finally, it was like the summer in St. Louis. You gotta take us Ozzy's. And our dad's
Finally,
like,
he snapped.
why do you want to go to Ozzy so bad? And we're like, so badly. We're like, he's gonna be there, and he's like, he's not gonna be
Our
there.
dad's like, he's not going to be there.
He's on the West Coast trip.
He has a freaking job.
Playing the Padres.
He's
Like,
he plays baseball. He's not going to be at the restaurant. And finally, we just broke him down to the point where he snapped. And he's like, fine, we'll go, and I'll show you that he's not going to be there. And he yelled at our mom, get your coat. We're going. We're like, it's August. Why do you need a coat?
It's so hot there,
We get in the car, and Randy and I are like freaking out. It's only like a 2-mile drive.
Brought our gloves and Sharpies because we're like, he's gonna be there.
And we keep saying it, and our dad's like, he's not going to be there. Like, he's going to be there. He's not going to be there. It's like, it's like a fight between us. We show up, we get to the restaurant. He's there.
No.
He's there.
No
He's
way.
in the building.
No way.
We were right. We were right.
Was he fucking pissed?
He was. So our dad's like mad
because we were right.
Because we were
This is
right.
The worst thing you can do is make a 12-year-old right about something over the parents.
So we're sitting there, and Ozzy, not only is he there, he's walking around to the tables and like greeting people.
Just as we had prophesied.
We're like, that's how it's going to be, right? So he walks around to the table, and he comes over to our table, and we're getting so psyched. So as he's approaching our table, we go down to our gloves, right, and the Sharpies to come back and have him sign it. And right as we come back up, our dad has the bread basket. To Ozzie Smith is like, we get some more rolls, please. To Ozzie Smith, serious. Can we get some more rolls? Yes.
Ozzy takes the basket and goes into the kitchen and
does not sign our gloves.
No.
And we don't see him again. He leaves. And our dad, you could tell he was like, got you.
No.
So that happened, and that was like a funny story, and we used to tell that story. And then 30 years later, I think it was about 25 years later, we're at this cancer benefit in St. Louis. Yeah. It's the last time our dad's out. He has cancer. It's the last time he's been out in the world, actually. We didn't know, but it was. And they're in a wheelchair. He's in the thing. We're there. We're performing. Ozzie Smith is there.
Is that the benefit? We got
to tell this story.
Tell the story.
Ozzie Smith is here. So as we're telling the story, Ozzie Smith, this is why he's a Hall of Fame human being.
In life, he goes into the
kitchen of the casino,
of the
where we're
Ameristar Casino. He comes
out with a basket
of rolls.
Of freaking rolls.
Walks over to our dad and says, here you go, Mr. Sklar. Here are those rolls.
Rolls you ordered 25 years ago.
Hilarious.
Wow.
Right? So
and we're standing on stage, and the crowd cheers, and it's like so wonderful. Our dad's looking up at him. We're like, is Dad going to cry?
Like, what's Dad going to do? And Dad just looked up at him and he said, where's the goddamn butter?
Zinged him again. Zinged him again. So So when our dad died, we started telling that story on stage, and all of it true and so funny. And it was our dad being funny. And when we tell that story, we'd be on stage, and we're like, that's how you keep people alive, is you bring them back through the stories we tell.
Great.
Yeah.
It's great. Good stuff.
My mom has been making recordings for my son's album.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if if you're familiar with Big Sean or Drake.
Yeah.
They always have their grandma on there.
Yes.
And so Wyatt and I used to joke about it, it's like somebody's in Big Sean. It's like Big Sean's is so funny. He's like, oh, thank you for calling me, dear. He's like, you always was the best grandson in the world, And then you hear Big Sean, and he's like, oh, thank you, Grandma, like that. So Wyatt and I used to joke about it, but then he called the other day and he was like, oh, can you get the podcast equipment and record Grammy with some of the letters that she wrote? Mm-hmm. So my mother sat down here and recorded. She was like,
Jay,
it's like an audiobook,
You got to get it to me, Jay.
Wyatt, you got to get it to me,
Wyatt,
you're not going to believe it. Wyatt.
I used to have a joke about a Toomey bag that they remember.
You gotta get it to me, Jay.
A Toomey, one of those bags at the airport.
Jay, you gotta
Get
get
in
it
the
to
airport, Jay.
You travel a lot, Jay. You
No,
gotta
all
get
the
it to me.
famous people have it, Jay.
All the famous people.
Tori
you got-
Spelling.
Tori Spelling has a Toomey.
Tori Spelling
You
had
got
a Toomey.
And look
I
at
had
how
to have
great
a
her
Toomey.
life is. Turned out not that great, Mom. That's why she's successful. It's not her father.
No, it's all nepotism. She's not successful because she bought a Toomey.
Wait, one more dad story. Is your guys the story when your dad took you to wrestling and you brought the kid that spoke Iranian? Is that you guys? No. That's not you guys?
No,
that's
what was our story?
Wait, no. The story that you guys told me.
What? We brought, no, it was Russian. It was
Russian.
It was Russian.
Wait, go.
Okay, so here's the story. We were big wrestling fans back in the day.
Me too.
Yeah,
Huge.
big in the 80s.
Yeah, that era.
okay.
Hulk, Iron Sheik, Macho Man. That's our era.
Macho
Yeah.
Man.
WWF.
Ivan Putski, Nikolai Volov, who was like the Russian guy.
He was like, yeah.
And he would say a bunch of Russian stuff. And we had a friend, Lenny Mankiewicz.
Who we just spoke about on stage. So Jay and I just played, and our friend did a movie, like a short film that is like basically a proof of concept for the film. It's a great idea about like a James Bond movie told from the perspective of the Bond girls. The idea that like Bond is a sort of a driveling idiot, but the Bond girls are the ones who like
Just ass kickers. They go in the other room when you think they're getting drinks for their dudes, and they're just like fighting
beating the shit
Got
out of
it,
each other.
yeah.
It's fun. Great idea.
Great idea.
But Randy and I played Russian guys in it. And basically our impression was both of us doing
A version of
his
Lenny
mom.
Mankovich's mom, who was a real estate agent in St.
Gorgeous.
Louis.
She was so cute. And his dad was a
Beautiful.
musician. And she was just this beautiful woman who held a phone that was like a cordless phone that was probably this big. And then the antenna was like that big. And she would be always doing real estate stuff, but then she would hear us joking around because we were constantly joking around.
We would be laughing so hard and like continue to joke, and he would like mess with his mom, and we would mess with her too. And
she every once in a while would be like, Lenny, don't push the joke over the cliff. Don't push. Don't push me.
Lenny, don't push.
So we kept saying that.
So we were in this movie, and like in the movie, we were like these,
That's
he's
good.
talking to us, and we're like, Lenny, don't push.
Don't push. Don't
We
push.
said, don't push, James. You
Don't
think
push.
You can
He's
don't
pushing.
push.
Don't push.
Don't push.
So Lenny spoke Russian, and Nikolai Volov would always say some Russian stuff, and we got our dad to pay for a ticket for him to come to the wrestling match with us and to tell us what he was saying in Russian.
So Nikolai Volkov is
Gets
like,
in the, and we wait for him. And we turn to Lenny, and he just looks at us, and he's like, gibberish. And both of us are like, I knew it. Money well spent. And our dad's like, was it? Was it money well spent?
So funny. Now you could put it in Google.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
100%.
but back
Google
then-
Translator. You needed a guy.
Yeah, you needed to buy a ticket for your friend.
Oh, my God.
You
It was
needed
so
a friend
fun.
who emigrated here under difficult circumstances.
What do you say? What do you say?
What'd he say? What'd he say?
I know you had a tough life, but now you're here.
It was so great. I love that kid, and I love that he agreed to do that for that reason. We
Right.
told him, this is why you're coming.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't mince words. We didn't like fake
You weren't
it.
even friends with them.
We were kind of friends with him, but like we're like, you have a job.
You
here
have one
tonight.
job to do.
Tell us what he's
Decode this.
Tell us what he's saying. And it
Wait,
was
like he's like in the like Wind Talkers. Did you see that movie Wind Talkers?
No.
That was
Nick
like,
Cage,
Was it
was
Nick
it?
Cage? It was like they were decoding they used like Native Americans to decode that would throw terms.
No, you know what it reminds me of that show, The Mentalist. Remember The Mentalist?
Yeah.
And the whole premise of the show was that the guy used his brain
to solve crime.
to solve crimes. You mean like every detective? Yeah. So he's like a regular detective.
he uses his brain to solve crimes. He's the mentalist.
All right.
We were
No,
watching. There's a Nick Cage movie that came on Netflix like a couple months ago.
What is it?
It's like a new Nick Cage movie.
Oh, it's a new one?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Wyatt and I are sitting there, and Naveen goes, "Oh, it's a new Nick Cage movie on
It's
Netflix."
not the Dream Scenario, is it?
Dream Scenario.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Dream Scenario.
Okay.
She goes, I go, "What's it about?" She goes, "It's about Nick Cage." He goes, "It's black people, and Nick Cage keeps showing up in black people's dreams."
It's a brilliant idea.
Brilliant
Brilliant
idea.
idea.
So Wyatt and I put on Dream Scenario.
Yeah.
Not one black person in the movie.
Right. It's
Right.
just-
and what she had seen was it said black comedy.
Yeah.
in the trailer.
And she thought it was just
And she thought it was, but it is people having Nick Cage in their
Is
dreams.
it a
I think.
dark comedy?
It's a dark comedy, but it said black comedy.
But wait, how much of a better movie
Yes.
is it if Nick Cage was only showing up in black people's dreams?
So much better.
And 90% of them are like, who is this guy?
I don't know who he is.
I've never seen any of his shit. Raising Arizona. What are you talking about?
Raising
Because
Arizona.
it's just not.
Black people don't watch Nick Cage movies.
No,
And
not at all.
in every dream that he shows up in, he's trying to explain to them who he is.
I did this. I did that. I did a movie called Valley Girl. At the
Gone
very
in
beginning.
60 seconds.
My uncle is Francis Ford Coppola.
No, I never heard of it.
We don't know who that is.
Nothing.
Francis Ford Coppola, The Godfather. Oh,
Being
yeah.
John Malkovich. Nothing.
Con Air?
No. Con Air.
And I
maybe.
know he wasn't in Being John.
No, he was not in Being
I'm
No,
just
but
throwing
I mean
stuff out.
that's just insane. But we were talking about Wind. So Wind Talkers was, I think he got like, and I'm gonna get this wrong, but he got like Native Americans to
Help decode.
help like talk. They talk to each other in Native American terms to decode like secrets, spy secrets and whatnot. And then Jay and I, when we were doing this one thing to a quest on ESPN to get like a certain player who was like Ozzie Smith's backup, just this guy Jose Oquendo, who was like the backup. He played everybody's position. He played all 9 positions in 1 year, but like he wasn't good enough to play one position. But he played all the backups. But like, I mean, pretty impressive. He like caught and he pitched.
He pitched.
And he played the outfield. He played all the infield positions. And we're like, this guy belongs in the Hall of Fame. Like he's just the guy that like we would root for to try and get in there. It's like give him his due, put him in there. And like the end result of that whole special was that we got a homemade plaque. Like a Hall of Fame plaque that we made hung up on the utility closet in the Hall of Fame for him.
Oh, wow.
Because he was like a utility player. So that was what it was. But in there, we were like, Jay and I are in Cooperstown, like, and we were so tired. I remember where did we come from? Somewhere.
We're sleeping in someone's house.
We're sleeping at someone's house.
and we're trying to remember all the
stats. All the stats. And Jay and I remember like laying in bed.
in
And they're
two
filming us.
twin bunk beds.
They're filming us. Like, and they're just like, how many home runs? How many postseason home runs did he hit?
One.
Which is one more than
Ted Williams.
And we were just like talking. I'm like, you got to say it faster. You got to say it
faster,
faster.
faster. And then we're like, we're gonna get him. It's like, you know about
Wind Talkers.
We're gonna be fast talkers.
We're gonna fast talk.
We'll fast talk the code.
He played all 9 positions. How many
Yes.
games did he play in 1987?
162.
Which is one more than
Ted Williams.
There you go.
Just that.
Oh,
Over and over. Fast talkers.
weren't you guys in a couple of Eastman commercials? Like with Kobe?
No,
why?
Oh my
You were-
God.
you were in-
That would have been so
We love
much.
Kobe.
One of those commercials where they're like in the copy room or like running around the office.
So those are this is ESPN. Those are the old this is ESPN or this is Sports Center.
This is
commercials.
Sports Center, yeah.
Great commercial campaign.
remember.
So our show that we did on ESPN was called Cheap Seats. That's the longest running show that we ever did.
Nash did. You did like
Nash
2 things on it.
He did 2 things.
At Faba.
At Faba.
The
Oh my
piece you
God.
did on that show is one of the funniest
That's
things
nice.
to this day.
I'd like to see it.
It was the curse
I wonder
of
if
the.
it's
We were
out.
doing a dog show, a dog show.
And we did like almost like a 30 for 30, but there was a thing called Sports Century, which was pre 30 for 30 documentaries shot in like this beautiful brown
Sepia
tone. It was like a gorgeous old school thing with interviews and whatnot.
And the whole piece was on the curse of the Boston Terrier.
Oh, yeah.
Because back then, at that point, the Red
Boston
Sox
had
had
not
not
won.
won
They
the
had
World
not.
Series. So this was the curse of
the
the Boston.
Boston Terrier, and like we had this, and you had like Basta. It was Corey.
It was Corey
right,
Abraham's dog. Our friend.
Yeah.
who's now like
I see her
a
on
peacock. Yeah, like you had her dog, and you were throwing stuff around with the dog, and a
It's
ball.
like the ball went through his
Yeah,
legs.
and then you just had a great improv. You were like, he talks to me.
He talks to me. He
He's-
doesn't say
and-
much.
He doesn't
He
say
much. He's very funny. Very funny. He's very funny.
Great. And that wasn't in the script. That was just you improvising. You were very funny.
People, and it's so
Thanks,
funny.
man.
Like we'd guest host Jim Rome's radio show, which is like a sports talk radio, like
Burning,
huge.
Yeah.
And people would be like, they got his name wrong. Like people would like write in emails. They're like, "What's going on with Art Farva?" Farber.
Remember when I used to do Bruce?
Oh, my God.
So I mean,
Come on, dude.
I used to call into their radio show when they would host Rome, and I'd call in as Bruce Jenner. And then
Yeah.
we're like, what's going on, Bruce? And you're like, I'm in the garage.
I'm in the
and
canoe.
then we all would say like I think we used to say like, oh, things aren't going to end well for him.
Things
or,
aren't gonna well for him. You okay, man? He's like, well, I'm in the canoe. Out in the
I'm in the
garage.
garage. I'm just answering all their text messages. And
Yeah.
we're like, what are you wearing? And he's like, I'm wearing a long caftan.
Yeah.
No
and
way.
like
We predicted the transition before it happened.
We were like on that thing so early.
There was always something about him that you were like, and then once she transitioned, I felt like, oh, okay, I don't really want to do this anymore.
We couldn't.
because
And we
it's like, oh, she's transitioned, and it's just like,
but
it's
it is
too much. But during that time when he was Bruce, there was something that you're like, what's going
What
on
is
with
happening
him?
with him?
It is so interesting because he had this whole life, Bruce Jenner. Like in the 70s, he was
in
on
the wake of the Olympics.
Yes.
Okay, we just saw the Olympics. Okay,
he was like America's biggest. He was like Simone Biles, like that big because he won the decathlon. He was on board games. He
was on Wheaties.
Wheaties boxes. He hosted. He
was like Simone Biles if
Superstars.
Simone Biles then went on to become an announcer.
Like
Yeah.
a TV announcer. He was sort of the picture of Olympic athletics and a very sort of male icon. And then he gets into this family, the Kardashians, which is this gaggle of women minus,
Right.
there's no male energy in that universe. And I'm including Scott Disick, just kidding. But there's no male energy in there. And he kind of jumped into that world and he became super beta in that universe.
Yeah.
And we were all like, what is going on with Bruce Jenner? You have a whole life. You've done all these things.
Show them your gold medal.
They're successful. They're amazing.
They're
but
amazing.
You're
I get it though. It's like you fall in love, and it's like,
yeah.
family's everything, and he had kids with her.
Yeah, he did.
And then it becomes all about that.
And the kids he made with her are beautiful.
They're
and
great. Yeah.
amazing. You think about what they've done in their lives. It's insane.
Insane what they've done.
I mean,
and
It is. They
accomplished.
built an empire, and he was part of that. And he was probably also trying to figure out who he was at that time.
Yeah.
like figuring out. So he didn't feel like he could assert himself in certain ways because he's like
He was
digging
dealing
into
with
himself.
something completely different.
Totally different.
Something, yeah, like
I
something
wonder if
else.
his lack of attention, because he was dealing with so much stuff on his own, allowed them to do what they did. Like, I wonder if that's the right alchemy. If you want to raise like superstar people, you got to be going through so much turmoil on your own. You got to be wanting to transition.
There might
but,
be something
I
to
can't
that.
spend time developing you or pushing you into a corner.
Oh.
I got to figure out who I am.
Yeah. Or maybe he there was so much going on with him
Yeah.
that he decided to not deal with himself.
Yeah.
And he put so much into his daughters, and they
he made them great.
He made them great.
He
So
made
that's
them great.
quite
You gotta be running
possible
from
too.
something inside of you to
That's
then
it.
just help other people.
I'm going through that now. I'm like, I have my 2 kids, and I'm like, all I do is think about how to support them.
Oh yeah.
It's just like, and then the opportunities come to you, and they're like, well, this might be money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't do it. As great of an idea as it sounds. Oh, you want me to fly to Ohio and do a small part in a movie for $1,500? Like,
Yeah.
I
can't do
can't.
it. I can't do it.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I just can't do
Because
it.
you don't want to miss moments and stuff.
It's not even the missing the moments. It's purely like,
I need more money.
miss the moments.
Pay him more money, goddamn. Pay him more. He's doing a small part in a movie in Ohio.
In a fictitious Ohio
of all
movie.
states, Ohio.
Yeah, come on.
You guys deal with that. You have
yeah,
kids. You have to
we
make money.
have tough-
Todd is single.
I am single, yep.
So you don't know what that is. Like, you don't
Tell the guys what it's like.
Well, I'm newly single. I guess it's been a year now.
Yeah,
I was
but
in a
no
relationship-
kids
but
too.
no kids. No kids
A
is
girlfriend's
nice.
kind of a joke.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like a girlfriend's nice to have a girlfriend, but it's not. It's not having
no, it's
kids.
a pull. It's a pull.
It is a
on
pull.
you.
It's nice. I don't have to worry about myself.
Right.
It's so
So that's good.
fucking no other responsibilities besides,
Anything
my-
crazy happened this weekend?
Oh man.
And we'll be right back.
I'll be right back as I clean myself up. No.
Wait, going back to real quick, going
Yes,
back to
sure.
things stuck inside people.
Yes.
A swizzle stick in the pee hole.
Of
Oh, yeah, that's
so
sounding.
That's sounding.
Yeah.
That's where you're like trying to do. Yeah, there were lots of
It's
things.
Rob
stuck in.
Schneider right there.
I love people.
Is that a Rob Schneider bit?
Deuce Bigelow.
He has an incredible
Encyclopedic
acumen
mind.
for movie
Remember?
quotes,
Yeah.
comedy movie quotes.
It's amazing.
Swizzle stick in the.
Is that a Rob
in the
Schneider
penis.
Yeah, it's from Deuce Bigelow, Mel Gigolos.
Oh,
Because you can turn it and
Yeah,
then
and
open
then-
the
whoa.
hole even
Yeah,
wider.
things open.
Exactly. Things
But
open.
yeah, though that is sounding.
Yeah.
And so sounding is sticking anything in there to get. That's the act is called sounding. And we were in Seattle doing comedy, and Seattle has the Seattle Sounders, which is their soccer team. And we're like, it's so ironic that the Sounders is the name of your soccer team because your soccer team is successful. It should be the name of your football team because that's what it feels like to be a fan of your football team. It feels like you're jamming something into the twist of your penis.
Sounders.
A swizzle stick in the tip of the penis.
Swizzle stick.
You guys were doing stuff for the Olympics with Kevin Hart and Keenan Thompson.
That was
Wait, were you
awesome.
over there?
Yeah, we were here.
You were
Deep
here
in the San Fernando
What
Valley.
were you doing?
So we wrote on the show, which is
Yeah.
Olympic highlights. We did 8 episodes in like 10, 12 days.
Great.
Our buddy Dave Nickel ran the show, which
Love
was
David.
amazing.
Yeah.
And we wrote on the show, and we wrote a little thing for us to do on it. And we kind of like,
Peacock.
yeah.
It's all on Peacock.
It's all on Peacock.
Yeah.
It was basically
It's really
like, this
funny.
is what happened in the Olympics, and here's a bunch of comedy about clips and stuff that's going on, and we would write that
How
stuff.
does Kevin Hart do everything?
He
It's
is
insane.
Spread
so
very thin.
so busy. He
He's
does it
very
all.
thin, but like he's a magnetic dude. He's
Yeah.
just a magnetic dude who is really talented. Keenan showed off his talent in this show.
He's so funny.
So you think of Keenan, you're like, oh, longest running guy on SNL, really dependable, does a bunch of characters. People don't realize like how freaking good he is.
Yeah.
On the fly.
Yeah.
Crazy respect.
Improvising.
Crazy respect.
We're friends with Josh Peck.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Josh Peck, I think, where it's like when you did it as a kid,
Yeah.
yeah.
you get this thing that like I don't think anybody else has. You know, even in some ways like a Kevin Hart. Like
So you have the comfortability.
yeah.
You're just comfortable in front of the camera. So where you are, because that was sort of taken out of, it's like when a little kid learns how to ski. They're not afraid of the mountain at
Yeah.
all when they're little. So when they enter, their entry point was that. So for Keenan, he was just a kid. He did all this kid stuff.
Did all
Man,
that.
we had Flava Flav on because Flava Flav was like a crazy women's water polo fan.
You know,
Yeah,
he like
yeah.
spent money and
He paid for them to fly
Yeah,
fly
paid
out.
for
funded
them
them
and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
funded them.
amazing.
Yeah.
But he came on the show
Gave
and
them all neck clocks. Just kidding.
waterproof. He came on the show and he was like, "Man, I love Keenan from Sesame Street." And everyone looked at each other and were like, "Was he on Sesame Street?"
And
Oh
Keenan's
no, he
like-
wasn't. Keenan was like, "It's Nickelodeon. It's the same as
It's all
Sesame
good,
Street."
Flav.
It was very fun. But he just flows to the
They
floor.
were great. And it was a rare experience for us to write. We don't really write for other people.
Right.
We just don't do that.
Yeah.
It was fun to be in the room. That was a fantastic
What did
room.
you think of the Olympics? Did you guys have any
amazing.
Yeah, what were your favorite
Incredible.
parts?
So it was, of course, the pole vaulter whose junk got caught on the pole. And you're like, that's the best way to lose. Is to be like, I'm sorry, my
But
dick's
let me
too
alert
big.
everyone in the world that
Ladies,
I have a
I'll be
giant
in the
package.
village later.
I'll be on a
Vaulting.
cardboard bed all night.
I'll be vaulting on my own pole. So like that was a great
Oh,
moment.
I mean, obviously, Australian breakdancer. That woman needs to go in a museum.
She was
What happened? I
Oh,
don't know.
she did-
so this woman who clearly
Did
did
give
not
a
know how
shit.
to breakdance.
did not know how to do it at all.
Yeah.
Does what if you said to like your aunt, okay, do a breakdancing thing. Like that's basically what she did.
Yeah.
And it's like,
It'd be like me saying to you, can you speak French?
Je m'appelle Claude.
Okay, can you speak German?
Nine. No, I can't.
So just try to say a bunch of German things. Just like what you think German
Okay,
sounds
okay,
like.
yeah, yeah.
Just
yeah,
try
tell
it.
us a sentence in German.
Ach, ja, gute, bad, nein.
Right.
So
Cool.
it just sounds like you're shouting, and a German would be like, "He's not doing
He's
that.
not
He's
doing
gibberish."
anything.
Yeah.
If Lenny Mankiewicz
It's like
came
Russian.
over, he'd be
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
gibberish.
Yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
said
So-
gibberish. And then his
but-
mom would be like, don't push.
Don't push.
But that is what this woman did in dance, and it was on a world stage, and now it's been
crazy.
memed up the wazoo. If you,
How did she
I
get
saw
on
some-
there?
I don't know.
I mean, because I
she's
think
like
that-
a professor of dance in Australia.
She talked her way through this thing and like got on this thing, and now she's on.
How
the
long
world
did she
stage.
dance for?
Like
the
a whole
entire routine,
and she
It's-
got a 0.
It's so worth watching.
0 points. 0 points.
I'm like, and by the way, she didn't. There's no way she could have cared. There's no way she could have been like, I should have done better.
Wait, didn't she make a face in it that she like?
She
looked
yawned.
like-
She like
it
came
was-
in like this, like that. I'm like, what? Are you? That's not even thriller.
laid on the ground. It was like,
And she's running around the ground like
Like
Curly
Curly.
Neal and instead
Yes,
of
yes, Curly Neal, yeah.
on the Three
yeah, oh,
Stooges.
dude, it
reference.
was. It's amazing. So that was incredible. We watched. So Jay and I went out to when we did the Bell House, and then we went out to the Hamptons to do never been to the Hamptons before ever. Did I know Southampton? We did they showed a short film that our friend that we were in,
Yeah.
the Lenny Mankiewicz, the Don't Push. We were the Russian guys in the Bond film, and then we did an hour of stand up.
Great.
At this great place out there called Sticks and Stones Comedy, which is in the Cultural Arts Center there, which is in downtown.
You have a
Southampton.
comedy club in the Hamptons.
Yeah,
This
amazing.
woman's trying to start doing comedy.
Great.
You should do it. You should absolutely do it.
It's fun.
Oh my God, you
right,
should do it. It's so fun.
Oh yeah, it'd be a fun vacation for you guys to go.
God, it was a blast. So we're taking the jitney. Do you know what the jitney is? That's
jitney,
the bus out
yeah.
there. We didn't never been. We had no idea. So we get to the jitney on it's at 40th and Lexington. We get there and we read the things. They're like, this is so New York too. So you got to catch the jitney at 40th and Lex. We get out of the subway. We get to 40th and Lex. And we're like,
there's no jitney.
no
stop
sign.
here.
And they're like, you catch the 40th and Lex jitney at 40th and 3rd. We're like, of course. Why would you do it at Lexington? It's called the 40th and Lex. You do it at 3rd, dummies.
2 avenues over. Literally 2. Walked out and there's the
Big avenues.
Right.
Yeah.
If you just showed up with 1 minute to go, you're fucked. There's no way you're getting on this thing. So thank God we had 10 minutes, and then we walked down there and went sitting on the bus out there. I mean, it's a long time. It's Saturday.
It's a miracle that it works in New York, right?
that it works.
I remember being in New York and something like that would give me so much anxiety.
Oh my God,
How
Jana.
the hell am I going to get on this bus?
Dude, we were in Brooklyn.
But somehow you get it.
So we were in Brooklyn with our friends, our friend Leslie Corrin. I think you remember our friend Leslie from Michigan. So we're with her and her family in Cobble Hill, and we're like, okay, we got to go. It's hot. We're like, put pants on.
So hot.
We put on what we're supposed to wear that night. Okay, so we definitely don't look like we belong on a jitney out to we're wearing what we'd wear, which isn't crazy, but it certainly isn't shorts and a linen shirt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And we get all the way out there. We're sitting on the bus. The only thing that saves us on that bus ride is the U.S. men's basketball
team
final.
against France, which I don't know if you saw. I don't know if you saw anything, but oh my God. So we're watching and we're like, oh my God, dude, France is coming back on these guys. We were up by 10 the whole time. Then we're up by 3. France hits a 3. Then we're on the bus and Steph Curry has the most amazing 2 minutes maybe in the history of Olympic
Maybe in his
basketball.
career. And he's won NBA finals.
NBA finals.
He hits 4
3-pointers. Okay.
No.
First one, pass it out to him. He fakes it. The guy jumps right by him, shoots a 3, splash, nails it. Second one, pass, guy goes in, cuts in, Devin Booker, pass it out to him. He fakes, the guy moves left, he shoots another 3. And they're like, oh my God. The announcer is amazing the way he's calling. He's like,
Then he hits another 3.
Another 3. And then he's got the ball and 2 guys are on him. They're like, we're not letting him score this time. 2 guys approach him. They're jumping up. He's falling away 40 feet out from the thing, shoots it up way high in the air, goes in.
No
4
way.
threes.
Kevin Durant's wide open too.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Crazy.
But then he runs back and runs down the court. I just put him to sleep.
And we're just
Wait.
we're witnessing, night. We're witnessing the greatest so we're on the jitney out to the Hamptons and we're watching this thing and we're like, God, I love sports.
Fun.
God, I love this moment.
So fun.
Olympics. I'm sad it's over, actually. It's such a...
How can France even get close to the
They
US?
have a guy named Vic. So they have 4 or 5 NBA players. You might not even realize who play in the NBA, who
backup guys,
but they're good. They
Rudy
do.
Gobert's good.
Rudy
Victor-
Gobert's tall. He's
Yeah.
7'3".
And they have Victor Wembanyama, who's the most exciting new young player in the league. He's
like
a rookie this year.
6'6", right?
7'5",
7'5",
and
yeah.
he can shoot the ball from outside, and he can dribble the ball. He's got handles, and he can dunk, and he's just a fun player. He's very skinny. Once he gets into his body, because he's
only 19, right?
Yeah,
20?
wait for him to when he's 25, 7 years.
The next
in the
Olympics
league,
are going to be
Yeah,
scary.
he'll be
oh my
sick.
God.
He's so good. And so they were really exciting. It was the host country. It was us against
Yeah,
them.
because you're playing basically a home game in France because it's in Paris.
Yes.
So the entire stadium is rooting for Paris.
Yeah.
And by the way, rooting for France. By the way, the women played the French too.
They almost
Yeah.
lost.
They almost lost.
They played garbage. And we watched the women's finals in soccer. The US women played Brazil.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the best soccer games I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It was just intense and amazing. And it's
It's fun.
as a father of daughters, one who competes in runs track and whatnot, I'm I just love that I'm loving this no matter who cares if it's men or women. This is just a great game.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun.
Do you follow the WNBA at all?
So we've been following since Caitlyn Clark. I love Caitlyn Clark.
Yeah.
She's so great.
She's
And what a shame and how dumb. I mean, I don't want to use this as a soapbox because I know that probably half of your people don't give a crap about sports.
No, it's interesting.
So we should explain for people who don't know.
Caitlyn Clark is a white girl from Iowa.
Indiana, Iowa, yeah.
Who stayed at Iowa rather than going to UConn or to South Carolina,
which are like
Top teams, right?
powerhouses in college women's basketball. They always win the national championship. They're always there.
She stayed at the University of Iowa and made them great. Took them all the way to the finals. They lost, but still they took them to the finals. Was incredible. She's like Larry Bird in some ways. Like she was like this new, and what she's also like Steph Curry in that she shoots the ball from like the logo, crosses half court, drains it. Like amazing a lot of NBA players, WNBA players do not create their own shot. They're sort of like wait for someone to penetrate and the defense to collapse, kick it out to them, they catch and shoot. But this is a woman who like you're defending her like Steph Curry the other day, and she can just step back, fake like she's going to drive. She has great moves and she drains deep shots. It's insane. And
so fun to watch. And now you're watching the WNBA to see what this woman is.
Well, but so all the WNBA players, and this is such a weird thing. I'm like, you guys are getting in your own way as a league. So all these old WNBA players are like, she's going to F around and find out when she shows up here. It's not like the college game. WNBA is a real league. She's not going to be able to get off her shot. Meanwhile, she shows up and she is getting off her shot.
Yeah.
And she's turning this horrible team, because she was the top pick, the lowest team in the league,
Yeah.
The Indiana Fever,
into a playoff team.
Right.
And she's like made them good. She's scoring sometimes 25, 26 points a game.
and by the way, they're selling out every time she comes to town. So if she comes
Wow.
down to LA, the Sparks, which normally probably wouldn't sell out.
They get like
sold
10,000
out, yeah.
fans. She shows up, they get 30,000, 25,000
Yeah.
fans.
It's
They have to go to
crazy.
bigger venues to play when she shows up, because
Wow.
that's how electric she's making it. So we're like, okay,
Olympics,
the
U.S. Olympic
world.
team.
They didn't let her on the team.
They didn't put her on the team because it's this same thing with the WNBA. All these old women are being like, these older WNBA players are all catty. They're like, she didn't deserve it. She hasn't been in the league
She's
long
got to
enough.
pay her dues.
I'm like, bro,
Why would you not
that's
capitalize
not
on this?
how anything else
That's
works.
crazy.
That's not how anything else works in this world.
No.
It'd be like saying, hey, Taylor Swift, you haven't been in this music business for long enough, so we're not going to put you on the Grammys. It's like,
Yeah.
no, you put her on the show and millions of people are going to watch. You can't say that to people. And it's so stupid.
So they took this opportunity. They missed this opportunity when there's like excitement about women's basketball at an all-time high because of this woman to not put her on the team.
And their argument was, we're good enough without her. We're fine. We don't need her.
And they were dominating the whole time, but then they got in this game with France. And it was like a dogfight. And you know what they needed? Someone to shoot from the outside. They were missing all their shots.
And everything. First of all, everything's a brick, and everything like they're taking terrible shots inside and missing easy shots left and right. And Randy and I are like,
We're on the bus back watching this.
so this is
Men's on the way out. Women's on the way back.
Imagine you're on the jitney next to us.
we're not on the jitney.
No, we were in.
Did you wear
some
shorts
car.
this time?
No, we were, and we're like mad. No, we were on the flight on the plane.
On the plane.
Yeah.
So we're like mad, and this is why we're mad. It's not. This is how involved in sports we are, and how much we care about the WNBA. You would think that we're like being
Like
anti
shitting on the
women.
WNBA. No, we
Yeah.
love it.
We're like,
Yeah, you
you
love it.
guys had this golden opportunity. You had a chance. Imagine, Nash, if like for us, if we had a chance to do stand-up comedy,
With
on the
Chappelle.
biggest stage. Yeah, on Chappelle for a Netflix special.
Sure.
And we have a bit that is killing, that is our very best bit of all time, but we're like, nah, we're not going to use it on this one.
Yeah.
Because that's not fair, or that's not right.
Yeah.
Why would you not bring out the one thing that is the biggest thing ever? So they missed this opportunity in the name of we're good enough. She has to pay her dues. She's not good enough. Then they make it to the gold medal game where millions of eyes are watching women's
Yeah, you have
basketball
a
for
lot.
the first time around the world. And all the haters of women's basketball are like, they can't shoot, they can't play.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
as good
yeah,
as the NBA. You just had the Steph Curry magic from the day before,
Oh my
which was
God.
like the greatest.
One of the
performance.
greatest moments
Yeah.
in any basketball game, any happening.
And if
in
we
the-
remember in 1978 or 79, the NBA was a joke.
Yes, it was. And then
Right?
Magic and Bird
So
came.
The men's league was a joke.
So what's happened right
Yeah.
now is that Caitlyn Clark is like Larry Bird, and Angel Reese, who's this beautiful woman from LSU, who's like a great rebounder and kind of like a scrappy player.
Sassy as all get out. Like,
Yeah.
we'll
She-
talk shit.
She
Like,
talks smack and fun. She's like Magic Johnson in that relationship, and they just jumped in the WNBA, and they've infused the league with all this excitement. Neither of them were picked to be on this Olympic team. So you turn on this game, and it's your one chance in front of millions of people who love the game, people who are like, I don't think the women are good enough, and you're putting this crappy product out there.
Yeah.
It was such a
It
bummer.
made us so
So interesting.
mad.
But look at how invested we are.
I know. when you host Rome, is that like the big topic that people call in about?
I don't.
What's the big topic?
It depends what's going on.
Okay.
Whatever's going on. So like it would have been about the Olympics.
Yeah.
But like if it's Tiger Woods like just took over. Like I
Why
remember,
is Tiger Woods in the news? I thought he was done.
So he's
No,
pretty
back.
much
He's in the
back?
majors. Yeah.
What's he in the
He's
senior
back.
league?
Or he's playing the majors.
he'll
majors.
never be
Yeah.
back there ever again.
But he did win in 2019.
He won the
that
Masters.
Was fucking crazy.
I mean that
yeah.
just shows you how great he really is.
I watched that doc and I had no idea
About
how
his
great
dad.
he was.
How great he was,
Yeah.
and also about how effed up his life was. Like his dad would like
That I kind of knew.
pull a camper van like off
up
to the side of the
onto
green.
Yeah.
and like bring women up to the camera van and be like, keep
Yeah.
chipping in there. I'm gonna, as Jay said, I'm
gonna put it in the hole in here.
Terrible.
You know.
Shipping.
Yeah.
But no, to see how good he was, I didn't know.
Well, he gave up
How
a lot.
incredible.
The bummer is he gave up a lot, and this is really interesting. There's a great podcast out there. I don't know how you like
Right.
consume podcasts in your life. If like while you're exercising or whatever, you
Yep.
listen to podcasts or to go to sleep or whatnot. There's a crazy podcast about Michael Jackson. It's called "Don't Look Twice" or no, "Look Twice."
Think twice.
Think twice.
Michael Jackson.
Think Twice, Michael Jackson. Okay, and we have no connection to these guys, but you told me about it, and I just started listening to it. Unbelievable
Really?
coverage of his whole life and his
Oh,
whole
wow.
career. So Michael Jackson in 1978. I'm not giving anything away. It's worth listening to the thing.
Okay.
But in 1978, 78,
Nine.
he gets selected to do The Wiz.
Yep.
So he's kind of grown
Wiz,
out
which
of
is the black. For those of you who know, it's like the black version of the Wizard of Oz.
Yep.
All black cast, way cooler,
Diana
like
Ross.
versions of the songs.
Yep.
I think Quincy Jones was sort of coordinating the music
Yep.
for that, and it was a very cool.
He wasn't coordinating the music for that, but like it was.
It was just a very cool project on Broadway that was not well received.
And then they
Which
did
sucked.
it. They did it as a movie. They shot it as a movie. Sidney Lumet, I believe. I'm not sure if that's who it was, but like great director. And they shot this thing, and it just didn't come out the way you expected. Years on, the black community will tell you like this is cultural necessity. You
Because
show
we
your
watched
kid-
this on like Thanksgiving.
Right, you
Mhm.
show the Wiz to your family because you show it to your kids. You pass it on. It's become this cult like hit over time.
Right.
And it's become this thing that people just truly love. If Michael Jackson so he did The Wiz, and he's not a kid anymore. So he isn't like kid Michael Jackson with the Jackson 5. He's older. He's like in
20.
puberty.
He's
He's
like-
he's
or
like
18.
18 years
18,
old.
Yeah.
18, 19 years
He
old.
hasn't had the nose job yet.
Hasn't had the
And
nose
no
job.
job.
He looks
Yeah.
cool as all get out. He looks so good. He looks so normal and
Right.
cool. A little bit of acne too, because he's like a teenager,
Yeah.
right? Maybe he's on Accutane. You never know if they had that back
They didn't
then.
have it.
He starts hanging out at Studio 54, and no one is really like mobbing him or anything.
Because Studio 54 is everyone's on their own. It was
Yeah, there were far bigger
Sure.
people. People thought Grace Jones at Studio or Andy Warhol was
Yeah.
like a bigger deal than him being there. So he could like hang out with all these people and dance. He was like the best dancer there by far.
Yeah.
He could really be himself. And there was like this little pocket of time where he was just Michael Jackson, the
Yeah.
person that he was. And there was a chance for him to like escape the child star thing and become his own person. And then he got connected up with Quincy Jones, and then Quincy Jones, who was just a master, like unbelievable, helps him make Off the Wall,
Off the
which
Wall.
then of course led to Thriller,
Thriller.
which was the biggest thing ever. And his life changed, and he became a crackpot, a crazy person.
Wow.
But there was like a divergent path there.
But
where
don't you think it's impossible for anyone to be that famous and not screw up? And-
yes.
Oh,
and
yeah.
just-
So you hear this and you read this, you're like, what he did is inexcusable. And what he did to kids, like, come on. This is just the most inexcusable thing ever.
It's
I don't care
inexcusable,
what was
yeah.
done to you. You got to know right from wrong. And
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
just
yeah.
stupid.
But I mean, the same thing that you saw with like, remember when like Martin Lawrence went crazy?
oh, yeah. We did
It's
a movie.
like-
with
We did a
Martin.
movie with
Yeah,
Martin,
and it's
yeah.
just like
Blue Streak?
I just
No.
think that
We did Wild Hogs.
Oh yeah, that's right. Wild Hogs,
Yeah, yeah. So
it's
like,
so funny.
oh my God. And I love
Yeah.
him. He was so good to us. Like, he was so nice to us on the set. And he was really cool. But like, there was a moment where like, that was kind of right off the time where people would be like, we worked on a movie with Martin and like, you couldn't look him in the eye. We're like, what?
What?
Couldn't
Right.
look him in the eye. Nobody could look him in
Right.
the eye.
I just think it makes you go nuts.
It does. There's a certain. I think part of what makes you go so nuts is the second you get enormous and huge, there's a million people very close to you who are like this with a handout right around you, wanting to get something from you. And then there's a bunch of people who want to take things away from you. And then there are some people who just are adoring of you. And there's
people that want to take you down.
People want to take you down.
And there's no one in your group that's like, hey, man, don't do that. This is going to be bad for you. There's like no real friend in there.
Yeah.
Because especially if they're like on the gravy train, they're like never going to tell you to turn something down.
Right.
Why would they? So
it's just you can't trust anyone. You can't help but surround yourself with people who don't have your best interest.
That's why we've tried not to be successful.
Just want to stay level-headed now.
Just want to stay grounded.
It's kind of true though. Like if it's kind of true, like if somebody like gave you, let's say you hit the lottery and you won like $300 million, right?
Yeah. Think of your family and all the people.
Wouldn't you? If it happened to me, like I would not try to get any more famous.
No.
Right?
Well, but sometimes though, I think it becomes this rolling thing that you can't stop. But yeah, I agree. Like Jim Carrey stepped away from everything. Like he's really stepped down.
I'm gone.
He's like, I'm out. I'm done.
And
I mean, he's
the crazy thing about Jim Carrey and what he started, because he had like this crazy ambition, and he wrote the $20 million check.
Yeah, he went on
hiked up Runyon or whatever he was, and he had
wrote himself a check for $10 million, and then he got it a year later.
Yeah, like the early '90s, right? We're just like
he got it for Ace
insane.
Ventura 2 or something like that. He like got it once Ace Ventura made all the money. He and then started making all these movies and whatnot, and it was huge and it was great, and it was taking all the things that he was doing in Living Color. But what he really wanted to do was Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
He wanted to do stuff like that.
That's what he wanted to do. And by the way,
amazing in that.
Incredible in that. I'm like, tell me someone who would have done it better.
Yeah.
It's so funny, all these great comedy people. You're like, oh, Peter Sellers just stopped doing comedy. He's like, no,
Steve Carell.
He's like, I want to do Being There. Steve Carell's like, I'm a good actor. I want to do.
Steve Carell in Foxcatcher is
amazing.
Unbelievable.
Foxcatcher's great.
Foxcatcher's insane.
Unbelievable.
Have you jumped down the rabbit hole and watched The Real Guy? There's there's
No.
Is it?
Oh, dude.
The Real Guy?
We just wasted
the real
the rest of your
wrestling
night.
guy?
Oh, sorry, we just screwed
You're
the
going to
rest
go
of the
into it. And there's a documentary about the real thing.
Oh, yeah.
On YouTube.
Yeah,
you
get in
wanna
there, whatever.
If you guys don't know,
DuPont.
Foxcatcher is a movie with Steve Carell, and it's this rich guy who
from
decides
the DuPont
to
family.
Closeted
the
gay.
DuPont family decides to fund these wrestlers.
He's
So
closeted.
he brings the wrestlers to his house.
Much
and
like
bad things
Flava
happen.
Flav funded the Olympic water polo team. So this guy funded but he was crazy and he was also weird and he ends up. I won't tell you what happens. It's worth watching. But it's so funny that we talk about this, Nash, because we talk about this all the time.
Yeah.
We talk about finding a balance in your life that you feel like taken care of a little bit, but that you can also be grounded and present for your kids, for your family. Like we know people across the board, just like I know you know people who are so successful that it's taken over their lives.
Sure.
That has changed how they're able to be.
Can't go to the mall.
Can't go to the mall. Can't go to the
Can't
market.
go to Whole Foods.
Can't go to
Used
Whole
to be this
Foods.
guy.
Yeah.
You should have seen him in a mall in Chicago.
Oh, my God.
Jason.
I'm sure, dude.
Well, he was with David, though.
No, but
It's funny when Dave wasn't there, that didn't happen.
Nash, it's crazy.
I got swarmed.
Look,
sure it was
there's
you?
Specific places where we get swarmed. It's like a sporting event, but that's it. But but the truth is, like, we know people who've like booked TV shows for like a year and they're just gone for a year.
Yeah.
And the TV show is fine. It's maybe not the best thing in the world, or it's good. It's not the greatest show of all time. And you're like, oh man, you had to take it.
Yeah.
You had to do it. But you just lost a year of your kids and of your life, and you've reached a level of fame that now you can't really do some things, and you can't just slip into a concert anonymously. There's things
you can't really control it, though, can you?
You can't really control it
because
but
it's
just
what
don't
we're all,
know.
And it's what we're all fighting for.
Yeah, you're striving for it in this business, but at the same time, we're like, can we get close enough to like get some of the good stuff from it? But then,
like, we want it all. We want that and the like.
Wait, I wanted to ask you
normalcy of
guys. I saw this thing. I was watching Vince Vaughn on Hot Ones.
Yeah, I saw that.
I love Vince Vaughn.
Love
And
him.
he said, the guy asked him, Sean Evans is a great interviewer. He asked him, he's like, what's going on with comedies? And Vince Vaughn goes, and tell me if you guys agree with this. He goes, yeah, it's not really happening. He's like, but it will come back.
Oh yeah.
He goes, people want to laugh.
Amen.
He goes, R-rated comedies, they'll come back. I thought that was so interesting that he said that.
Oh, they absolutely will come back.
You think so?
Yeah,
I do.
We did a movie with Vince Vaughn years ago.
You did? Which one?
It was called The Prime Gig, which was
Okay.
Vince Vaughn, Julia Ormond.
He's done a lot of movies I haven't seen.
No,
Ed
this was
Harris.
kind of like a boiler room kind of like.
kind of
Boiler Room,
Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah.
The guy
yeah.
who directed Glengarry Glen Ross on Broadway. His name was Gregory Mosher. Great guy.
I love Glengarry Glen
God
Ross.
damn, it was
And we
so
had a
good.
couple scenes with Vince.
Tell us what that was like.
Amazing. He was so cool.
So
He, of
giving.
course, like we
Did
were
you see a difference when the scene starts that he's in character or?
Yeah, well, we started improvising.
You
And,
did?
like,
Was it a
'cause
funny movie?
Yeah.
It
Oh, it was a
was-
funny.
It was.
Was the scene funny?
Our
The
scenes
scenes
were
was
funny because
Yeah.
we were weird, and he was playing off the fact that there were twins.
So he had to.
Right.
He was like looking for some like it was like a real estate leads to like it was like to scam people so
Yeah.
that he could make money.
Yes.
So that he could kind of move up the board in the. It's like Glengarry Glen Ross in a lot of ways.
Uh-huh.
And
We had-
a bunch of leads, and we are like the twins. Like you got to go see the twins and get some leads.
And we
from
have
them.
like a weird assistant guy over here, and that
He's like comes to like a Mexican restaurant with us, and we're like,
and he tries to get it out of us, and we won't
Is it-
give it to him.
Were you
He
friends
was-
with Bennett Lerner? Is that who did it?
Did Bennett Lerner do that?
No,
Okay,
But
go.
we're
Keep
friends
going.
with him through Jordan Rubin.
Jordan
Right,
That's his
right, right, right.
cousin.
Who's incredible.
Amazing.
Go ahead.
Love Jordan.
Sorry.
So we are in the scene, and he is trying to get some from us, and we're having fun, and he's kind of veering off a little bit from the script because he's just being himself, and then we're going with him and meeting him there, and he could feel it, and it was.
He loved it.
He loved it, and he was so nice to us, so much so that weren't you walking like 15 years later in your neighborhood and
Yeah,
just
I
saw
saw
him?
and he was just
Popped
like,
up.
"Oh my god!" Because I think he likes comedy too. Remember,
Yeah,
he did like
for
the
sure.
Wild West comedy tour or
Yeah.
whatever.
So I
with
think
a
he
bunch
knows
of-
who we are, but it was very, very cool experience working with him. And I think
And that was kind of 4 years after, a few years after Swingers.
Yeah.
4 or
Oh,
5
wow.
years after Swingers. You're in the same sort of.
And he was
ballpark.
hot then. He
Oh
was
my
like,
Very hot.
He was the hottest.
and
he
he
came
was
out and-
so fun. I mean, it was pre-Wedding Crashers, so but still in the heat.
So like I
zone.
watched him in Curb Your Enthusiasm, and I'm
Me
like,
too.
and I'm like, he's great.
He's great.
Because you know why he was great? Because he's not even trying too hard. Like
he
I'm
puts
sure,
the audience at ease.
Totally.
He's amazing.
So when you see Vince Vaughn, you go, oh.
yeah,
He feels like a friend, like especially
Yeah,
wedding.
yeah.
I've seen Wedding Crashers so many times,
the best
just because they both are so fucking amazing together, and like you feel like
because
you're,
they have
you know,
two energies. That
But
works.
but as an
Yeah.
actor, if you go back and watch that movie and say, just from an acting perspective, is Vince Vaughn being truthful to what his character wants and truthful to what his drive is through the whole movie? 100%.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
100%. He's not sacrificing any of the drive for the comedy.
Uh-huh.
He's just working the comedy in with the drive.
And then it's funny.
It
Uh,
funny,
It works out,
but
right?
works. That's
Yeah.
why that movie was such a success.
yeah.
So
Damn.
he's so good and he's so right. I think, we just did a couple episodes of the show, What We Do in the Shadows, which I love. It's a
Oh, I love this show.
Yeah,
it's
it's
so
the best.
good.
Possibly the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Ever. The show is so funny with Matt Berry and with
Tasha Demetria.
Tasha Demetria and like all these people. We were in season 4. We did like 4 episodes of it. And we were on the set. It was in Toronto and it was the night before our first shoot, which was an all-night shoot. And they was taking time to get going. And so we were sitting in our trailer and the writers came in because they were so nice to us. They were like, just want to say hi and just like psyched that you're here. And we were so psyched to be there. We were so excited. And Paul Sims, who was the head writer of
Paul
that,
Sims, yeah.
who's great. He did
Frasier.
Huge name.
Huge
He did
name.
Atlanta. He
did
like helped
Atlanta, yeah.
Yeah, he helped
He's so good. And we were
Donald
like,
Glover with Atlanta.
we love this show. It's, you book
Like,
some jobs
why-
where you're like on a show, you're like,
why is this show so funny? We're like, it's so funny. Why is
Yeah,
it so
yeah,
funny?
yeah.
And he was like,
because we have one goal on this show, and that is to be funny. That is it. So if that's all we're trying to do,
Yeah.
we're not trying to make a statement about identity. We're not trying to make a statement about the political moment that we're in. We're not trying to right the wrongs of the industry from the past 40 years. We're not trying to. We may do that. We have characters who are like all across the spectrum of
Sure.
like sexuality, sexual orientation, whatever. We don't talk about that for 1 second. We're like, what's the absolute funniest thing we can do in every single moment? And I think people and audiences want that. They want to know that you are striving.
I'll tell
to
you a
make them
great
laugh.
example why that show's so funny. Someone was pitching me a sketch about like it was like reality TV, and it was like breaking the fourth wall on reality TV, and I was like, this isn't funny as what they did on What They Do with the Shadows. It was the pinnacle of funny. It's a guy named like Nosferatu or something. He's coming back. He's 800 years old.
Yeah.
The Baron.
The Baron. Yeah.
They've somehow summoned him back.
Yeah.
And it's like a really big deal.
Yeah.
And he's coming to like cause havoc on all the vampires or whatever and all the regular people. And he finally comes out of the tomb. And he's about to wreak havoc on everybody. And he sees the camera.
It's so good.
And he gets camera shot. And he's like, wait, what's this? I don't really look great right now. Like, it's the pinnacle.
It's
so good. You can't.
There were so many good moments, and our So our characters, we played these like, I don't want to give away what it is because I want you to see it. Season 4, but like Matt Berry starts watching He starts watching like a home improvement show, like kind of like a
Property Brothers. Like,
so that's why it's called Go Flip Yourself,
right,
which is our show. Like, so
you're the Property
TV
Brothers.
Show kind of like pops in and out of their show, and then we come to flip their house.
Flip their house.
Yes.
Flip their house.
Yes.
And they shoot it like literally the whole episode looks like an HGTV episode.
Amazing.
It's so brilliant with editing and like lower third graphics and stuff.
Like promos for shows that don't exist, like on this fake network. They go all in. It's kind of like the stuff we did with you when we were doing Back on Tops when you played,
Back on Tops,
which was so funny.
Which, by the way, I just showed someone that we had done a movie with Back on Tops, and it was like with the stalker and the pants and like Lou Gehrig's pants.
They had like their own Curb Your Enthusiasm like web show that was like really good.
So many great
episodes were like 10 minutes long, right?
So 7 minutes long.
Peter Atencio, who shot Key and Peele.
And
Mike Lydon, who is just our friend who's so talented.
And Nash played our stalker who couldn't get childcare and had to bring his baby with him when he was stalking us, and it was Randy's
my daughter.
So he'd be in like all of a sudden we'd hear like this like this scary sting that he had shown up, and we turn around and he's got a baby and a Bjorn.
Like, I couldn't get childcare, so I'm here to stalk you. But
it was so,
he was keep it down a little bit because she's like, you're now making demands on us.
But again, it's like our whole goal just was to be funny, and that's what the show
But I
is.
mean, that was like Matt Price and Chris Hardwick and Rich Fulcher did.
Rich
remember
Fulcher
was in it,
and
Janet Varney, and like all these like incredible
Brian Husky,
MC Gainey, like all these incredible people were in it.
I liked what you guys said about being funny because I was watching Curb the other night. Yesterday I was watching it, and it was the rat dog episode.
Yeah,
and it's where it's not Kevin Farley. It's one of the Farleys stomps someone's dog that looks like a rat at the end, and it's so funny.
So funny
because he's not a Terminator. What do you call it? Somebody exterminator.
Yeah,
he's an exterminator. And it all comes together that he's been hanging out with an exterminator. Blah 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 blah. And then there's this scene where they go to the door and they're saying goodbye to each other, the exterminator and Larry. And instead of like having some kind of wrap up, he doesn't even bother. He just goes, "Hey, that's your training."
Wait, what?
Like he was trying to make the exterminator feel better, and he's like, "Hey, you did what you did. That's your training. You went in, you reacted, and he's like, I'm really sorry, Larry." It's like so funny. Like, why don't more shows do that? Like, be funny.
And again, we had JB Smoove on this Kevin Hart show.
Yeah, JB Smoove.
We wrote a
Incredible.
whole bit with him, and he wrote a bit, and like we were everybody was helping out with it. But like JB has like. Remember, he did our pilot. Do you remember you did our pilot for?
You did our MTV pilot in 1990.
Oh yeah. Bill Burr was one of the stand-ups.
So he was stand-up on the show.
On the show,
but you did the pilot.
I remember.
Remember, you did the goddamn pilot. Zach was in it, but like JB Smoove did stand-up on the show. Remember that
on our pilot?
Yes,
stand-up on the show.
Damn,
which is amazing. So we have deep history with him, and he just was amazing. But I love he and Larry's relationship, which is that he'll just be like, You gotta whip that ass, Larry. You gotta whoop that ass.
Whoop that ass.
Whoop that
Really
ass,
good.
Larry. You gotta whoop that ass. And like Larry's like, yes, I do gotta whoop that ass. I gotta get in there and whoop that ass. And it's like, or he'll say, you gotta whoop that ass, Larry. And Larry's like, yeah, maybe. You know,
Yeah.
But he doesn't say, come on, man, I can't do that. I'm not you. Like it.
Or just they'll be walking down the street. It has nothing to do with the scene. And he's like, he's like, you like your skin color? And he's like, fuck yeah, Larry, I like my skin color. I look like a cappuccino. I'm like a coffee. And he's like, you like your skin? He's like, no. I'm like, I hate it.
Jason did Curb.
I did an episode of Curb.
How was that?
It was great.
The audition was amazing.
So Jeff Garland's a friend of ours, and we've known him forever. And he, I guess, thought we would be right, or one of us would be right for the role. And so he called our agents, or they reached out to our agents, and they were like, "Get me a Sklar." And I was like, "We're like he's ordering us from like Amazon. Get me a Sklar." And so our agent asked me. I don't know why. They just went to me, maybe J before R in the alphabet. Who knows? So I go in for the audition, and I don't know if you auditioned for the show, but they give you a slip of paper, and they're like, "This is where the scene starts. This is kind of what happens in the scene. This is the final line in the scene. How you get there is up to you." So it's an argument scene. It's a big argument.
Coveted scene.
You want to have an argument scene if you're going on that show as a guest star. You want it badly. So,
and by the way, this is season 3 when Larry is
in the auditions. Larry was there.
Oh, yeah.
He's auditioning. You're not reading with a casting person.
Yeah.
You're reading with Larry.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting in the audience. I was sitting in the waiting room, and I'm listening to other people. Like Andy Dick is in there. Like,
oh, no.
And he's being so funny, but he's like, I'm like, does he know even this is an audition? No, but he's in there. He just walked in.
Andy Dick's very funny.
It's
really funny.
But what I'm hearing is a bunch of people go in and do it is they are going immediately to the argument. Like, because they're like, you have the audition and you want to kind of throw some sparks around and make an impression. But I was taking this acting class, which was at Pacific Resident Theater, this theater out in Venice.
Do you remember that theater? It was like way out there.
It was a great acting. And my acting teacher at the time was like teaching this great concept. It just worked out. This is where it worked out for me. He's like, you never play the problem, play the solution. What does that mean? You don't act drunk. You try to hold it together and you can't. And then that's how you're drunk. You don't act sad. You just try to not break down and then you can't help it and you break down. Like that's a much more interesting thing to play. Wow. So that's circling through my mind as I'm sitting in this thing and seeing all these famous people that I know and fans of in comedy. I'm like, just don't play the solution. Don't play the problem. I'm like, if I worked in a store, would I just start yelling at a guy the first second?
You work at a store. The customer's always right.
So I'm like, what if my goal as I go in there for this audition is to not get in an argument with Larry? What if I really try hard to not get into an argument? Yeah. That's such a better thing to play, right?
Right.
So I go in the audition and, we start doing it and he's like, and we argue over the folding of this sweater. He picks up a sweater and he's like, yeah, maybe I'll get this. And where I'm like, oh, it looks great. Like
they do.
Looks great on you. I'm like, it looks great on you. And he in the audition, he's like, I haven't put it on yet. And I'm like, but it will. And he's like, I don't know. And he holds it up and he's like, not really my style. And he puts it down and starts folding. And I'm like, hey, I'll fold that for you. And you just, go ahead and look at some other stuff. There's great stuff here. Yeah. All of it will look great on you. I just kept saying that. He's like, I got it. And I'm like, yeah, but I'll do it. And he's like, instead of like being like, hey, don't do that, I fold it. I was trying to be super passive aggressive and nice. I'm like, it's kind of hard. And, we do it a specific way. And he's like, it's not that hard. It's just you flip. And I'm like, yeah, but we're kind of doing something. And then we start tussling with it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, well, now you're stretching it and it was a V-neck and now you turn into a scoop neck and thank you. And I rip it away. And I'm like, then I fold it. And he's like, oh, that was really hard. Like, so it was so funny because it was like I was watching an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Yeah.
Because he's being so annoying. So I start going off, and that's the point at which I let it go. But it started here, and then it went up to here, right? And we start going at it, and then he starts laughing, and I'm like, "Oh, this is funny to you,
right?
Oh, so you're a big rich guy coming down here to my job and laugh at the poor guy working." And I start going off, and he's like, "No, we're done." And I'm like, "I don't think we're done." You don't walk into my store and insult me.
And then now you're going to lose the part.
And then Jeff comes out. Well, so Jeff started to like sense that, and he comes out from behind. He's like, no. Larry David is saying this audition is over. Get out.
You say yelling at Jeff?
I was like, hey, all right.
That's awesome.
Damn.
So what a great story.
But
Who the hell is this guy?
Yeah.
But Jeff was like very nice.
Oh,
Like
good
I
job,
could
man.
tell, like he gave me a little sign or whatever where it looked pretty good. And so then I got to come do the scene, and it was so fun. I was so nervous because I was used to doing stuff with Randy. So I'm showing up on this set of a show that I love, that I think is just like one of my favorite shows. I don't want to fuck it up. I want to do a good job. And I'm sitting in the makeup chair, and Larry's right next to me, and it's quiet. No one's talking at all. And I'm like, I got to break the ice, man. I'm just sitting here. Normally I'd be like jovial with him and in the scene. And so out of nowhere, I just go, I hate the Lakers. He's like, oh, they're the worst. And so then we start joking about
Did you know
that.
he wouldn't like the Lakers?
I think I saw from another episode that he
Didn't like
kind
the
of
Lakers.
said that. The one where like he's with the guy, Mark from Studs, whatever, and their legs are like this and they trip Shaq.
Oh, yeah, they chip Shaq.
Yeah, so that I think it was from that episode, but it was from, and I think he got some of that stuff out that he doesn't really like the Lakers, and so I just threw that out there because I didn't. I'm a Clippers fan, always have been, and I did hate the Lakers at the time, and so I had a lot to say. We joked about that. He's like, all right, let's go do the scene, and so we get in the actual store, and the other part about acting is like you go in. And you have a script and you're like, if the writer's there, you're like, I want to get the lines right. I want to be right, but then I want to be truthful to the acting. Well, with Curb, you don't have to worry about the lines. So you really have to listen and you really have to sort of get the scene moving in the way that it's supposed to go. And then you have to just be real and react and trust that it's funny. And so we did a couple takes. We did it 9 times. I remember it was so fast. That's it. Only 9 though, because by the time Garland came to check on us and we were done. But I remember like a second take, we did this thing and I started getting this thing and I'm like, oh, did you go to the folding seminar that I went to a week ago? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, oh, I didn't see you there. That's so funny that you're acting like that because I was at a folding seminar. And he's like, that's Robert Whitey, who was the director, came over and was like, that's all really funny. That's so great. But like, now you're being funny. He's like, it doesn't feel as real. So like lose that and you don't need to say that. And it just feels like you're going for a joke there. And I was like, oh, that's a good point. I mean, I was just trying to think what this person would say, and I really wasn't going for the joke, but I could see how it feels like that. He's like, we want it to feel real, and I was like, yes. So we would do
so difficult.
It's so difficult.
So difficult to be funny and real.
He's like, just trust
like,
that. He's like, trust that it's super funny. He's like, the scenario is really funny because Larry has to come in and get the Scorsese jacket for the reshoot.
Yeah.
That's the scene. And I have the jacket and he's looking for the sweater after the fact. And then I get into a fight with him and I won't sell him the jacket. That's the whole scene. I'm like, and don't send any of your friends in here because I'm not going to sell them the jacket. You're not getting the reshoot jacket. The whole reason why he was supposed to come in there. It's a great scene. And because he made it great. But he was pushing. And
so good.
It was so fun. And there was a couple times where Larry was laughing. And Robert was like, stop laughing at him.
Yeah.
You got to be real.
Yeah.
It was great. It made me feel so good.
It's so, and then to full circle that, we just finished shooting our friend, we did that short film that our friend did, but then we just shot a feature with her, like over the course of a short period of time. Really funny movie about parents in Altadena
Oh, wow.
like take over their kids, called Science Fair. We'd like all the parents who are like of high achieving kids, like just take over their kids' science fair projects. And like the parents are basically ruining it and ruining everything. And it's about, she comes into this like world and she's.
Was it improvised?
So it was improvised. And like Tia Carrera played my wife and Jackie Tone played Jay's wife.
Great.
And like,
David Wayne was in it.
David Wayne, Weird Al was in it. David Wayne, Tiffany Haddish, like Cordry,
so
Amy Mann did a little something, and it was like really, and they're just great people in it. But what he brought from that experience, because you know where it's got to go, and you know the intention of what you're playing, you can really use what you have built as the characters to like inform everything.
And that'll make a funny. You don't have to consciously make a funny choice. Just trust the scenario.
And then just keep
and then go hard into your intention. Go hard into whatever your goal is in this scene. And the harder you go into the goal, the funnier you will be.
Yeah.
And it's got nothing to do with you saying a funny, clever thought.
Do you remember Blyden's story?
With
First Curb?
Didn't he show up and he's like, I don't want to do this.
We were like, I had like 2 sketch partners. Who were great. And like, but we were struggling for anything to happen, you know? So one day, it's probably around the same time you got your audition, probably the same season.
Yeah.
Mike gets the call. He's like, I have an audition.
I think it was before I got it.
Maybe it was season before.
Yeah.
And then Mike gets the call. He's going in for Curb Your Enthusiasm. And like, you're just like, oh my God,
You
like
got
Mike,
this.
like, fuck yes,
Insane.
dude. Like, good things are going to happen for all of us. Like, this is insane.
Yeah.
And Mike is just like, Mike's really funny, but
He's
his
a very odd bird.
odd bird and really funny, and not somebody who's like driven by fame
Anything.
or anything or money. But he's super funny.
Yeah.
And that's why he got the audition, because he is funny.
Yeah.
So funny.
So he goes in and we come back. We're like, what happened? What happened? Like, did you get it? Did you get it? He's like, no, I didn't get it. I'm like, what happened? He's like, I went in there and they're like, okay, you need to yell at Larry in the audition. And Mike's like, he tries, he's like, starts to maybe try to yell. And he's like, I'm sorry, I can't yell at you. He's like, I just can't.
Can't do it.
And the woman who brought him in, the casting director's like,
What are you doing?
what's going on?
Better try.
I brought you in for this.
How about trying?
Super awkward.
Yeah.
And then to kill the awkwardness, Larry David just goes, I got it. I get it. You don't want to yell at me. I wouldn't want to yell at you either. It's like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why do we do it like this?
Yeah,
Why do we do it like this? And he's like, and Mike's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, I just can't. I can't yell at you. And then as Mike was walking down the hallway, he said Larry David stuck his head out and was like, consider this a good audition.
That's so
And that's Mike too, that Mike would end up winning somehow, even though.
Well, he won out of that. Well, but so what is the takeaway from that? I mean, as we all, not that we have to have a lesson in everything, but there is be true to yourself in every moment.
And hold on loosely. You don't have to hold so tight.
Yeah.
The more you want something, the
You want to
tighter.
wheeze it out. Yeah.
The more you want it, the less you're going to get it. The more you just sort of say to yourself, let me just go do my best. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Or let's see what happens. Let's see what happens is a great attitude to have
than
for
I'm going
your
to control
life.
this thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a little flow state action. That's
Someone
neat,
would-
right? Yeah.
You guys were on Better Call Saul too, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
yes.
That was so fun. And the
I never watched that show. I
Did you
watched
watch
all
the
of
show?
Breaking Bad.
I got to season 2, and for some reason, I got to get back to it.
We
I
were
know it's so
season
amazing.
3. I
3 or
Okay.
4.
So that was a really good one too. That was like one where basically they wanted 2 people who owned a guitar store, like a music store in Albuquerque.
Right.
And they're like,
Perfect for you
2
guys.
guys who own do they have to be brothers? They don't have to be brothers. It's just 2 people. And they're bringing in like amazing people. Like
Right.
Dave Gruber Allen,
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
him, Naked
yeah,
Trucker, and
yeah.
like to
Just
bring
so
in
many great people. It
great
was-
people. The problem for them is that they were interviewing or they were auditioning just one. So the casting person had to read Odenkirk's lines plus the other person who owns the store's lines.
Isn't that funny?
Jay and I came in and we're like,
wow.
all right, we're going to give you your
Well,
2
this is
shots.
what the scene's going to look like.
Right.
You know, your 2-shot looking this way, it's going to be us.
Uh-huh.
And we did it, and we kind of found some moments in there, and we had some, even though it's not a very improv-y show, it really isn't. And it was, and they were like, yeah, you got it. We were
That's
like, I
great.
can't believe
That's
we're going to
so
You're
Albuquerque.
like, you're flying on Friday to Albuquerque.
How long were you there for?
We went twice. We went there and back, and
There and
there
back.
it was 2 episodes. But what was so cool about it is if you
Tom
ever
Schnoz, man, the guy who wrote it and he directed it.
Yeah.
So it's in a guitar shop. So we're sitting half the day. This is the other thing. When you're on a great show, a show that like knows it's great and is respected by its own network,
Yeah.
they're like, we're going to be in this shop shooting this scene today. We've been on other shows. We're like, we got to get this
We gotta
scene
get
and
this.
4 other scenes.
Yeah.
Because we were up against it.
Dude,
there
we
was
were-
no feeling of we're up
We
against
did.
it.
Chilling,
We did
kind of,
Glow.
yeah.
Do you remember that show
Glow,
which
yeah.
was amazing and so much fun? And we were shooting a scene like out in Ontario. It was supposed to look like Vegas.
Yep.
It was the year that they went to Vegas. Glow, the wrestling, gorgeous ladies.
Oh,
of
yeah,
wrestling
yeah.
On
With the male
Netflix.
coach.
And
Yeah.
and so we were like supposed to be playing tennis. We were like 2 promoters in Vegas who had a room, but were like misogynistic and shitty and like terrible to the girls. And Marin and the other guy are trying to like get into our room, like put the ladies of Gorgeous Lady of Wrestling in our room. And we're like,
Yeah.
let's play some tennis. We got to the club, played a little tennis. And Jesse Peretz, this is the greatest thing. Who directed Girls.
Yep.
And he's really good director. He came up to us and he's like, all right, I watched what we shot yesterday with you guys. And he's like, I wrote this thing. I wrote this scene. let's try and pick it off. It's just you guys talking to them about like
dumb shit
about like a mole you had removed from because of like why aren't you guys wearing sunscreen? And it was just like, it was really a very well written scene.
It's like, just about us being so inane, but them being forced to listen to it because they need something.
Yes.
So them having to listen to it, and it was just great, and it was beautiful. He wrote it for us. We were like,
That's
this
so
is
cool.
and he's like, all right, I want to pick this off. And the AD is like, we cannot do this. We fucking can't do it because we got to move on and we got to do this. And he's like, we're going to do it. We're going to get it. And he's like, just be ready and get it. And we're like, and the AD's like, we're not fucking doing it, man. We're not doing it. It was like so funny because like, we're not doing it. We don't have the time. We don't have the money.
He's like, just do it. He's like,
do it.
So to us, he's essentially saying, you got to get it.
You got to
like
get
one
it.
or two.
You got to get it 1 or 2, and then you got to get it.
And so we got it, and they put it in the show. It was the greatest feeling
But
ever.
there was a
That's
feeling
great.
of like,
Up against the wallness.
Yeah.
This show, Better Call Saul, was like, we're going to hang around. We're going to get this from a million different angles. And as an actor, you start to calm down because you're like, hey, if I screw up a line in this, auditioning is way harder than being in
Oh
in
my
stuff,
God,
by the
right?
way.
Yeah.
Auditioning, you get one crack
one
and then
shot.
you split.
Maybe you get a second shot if you're like, hey, can I do that again? But like,
For sure. And it's not the same when you don't have like that, that the actual person in front of you.
Totally.
The connection.
so like,
hopefully.
Tom Schnauz was like, hey, they just said, just run it run the scene with Bob. And so like it's a small scene where like the three of us are in the Guitar Center and we're just kind of running it, just talking it through in a way of like it just was very
running the lines low key, and then they're like, all right,
okay,
we got it. We got that part.
Oh.
And so he had put a camera way up at the top, and it was like
A security cam.
peering like through guitars down at us, and we didn't realize that became the master shot of the whole thing. And we were so relaxed because we were just running the lines with him, and it was like very
That's
real,
so
very
cool.
real.
That's
And it was just like taught us like, okay, that's a really good thing to do.
Took the performance out of it.
All right, we should go.
right.
What are we at?
120.
Okay, that's perfect.
Shit, dude.
Last thing.
Yes.
This is so random. You have any take on that Jordan doc that came out like 3 years ago?
Oh, the Last Dance.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Why is Scottie Pippen sitting in like a condo where there's no furniture?
It's like, what is everything repossessed? Like Jesus,
Like they couldn't stage
That's your
it?
first take on it.
come on.
But Jordan, huh?
I'm like, bloodshot eyes. I'm like, can you get a night's sleep? How much Jack Daniels did you drink before everything?
Yeah, he has bloodshot eyes.
And
And the fact that he's got no friends. Michael Jordan went in. So when you get inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame, you usually have like
your best teammate.
Like Scottie Pippen should have delivered the speech.
The coach, Phil Jackson, should have been there to be like,
Nobody was there?
No,
he had.
He had. You know who he had? This is how petty he is, and
Introducing him.
why he was like the greatest of all time.
Mhm.
But what makes his life, just in my opinion, a terrible, very difficult life to live. He had introduced him. This is the weirdest flex ever. The guy who beat him out for his high school team. In high school, he had him
Wow.
introduce him into the
Just
Hall
like,
of Fame.
yeah, no one's heard of you, and look where I am. I'm at the Hall of Fame. Introduce me.
Yeah, it's like such a weird flex.
So
And you're
he's
like,
so
Wow.
petty. And so obviously it was still cool. I mean, and you know what was also sad, and this is such a bummer that came out of that, not to be like a Debbie Downer, but like and I can't believe they named a hurricane Debbie, by the way, recently. It was such a weird
terrible.
All right.
DBBY, but still.
Don't ruin little Debbie snack cakes. All right, so he kind of in the documentary made Jerry Krause, who was he made him look like the villain, like a bad guy who
Yeah.
broke up the team and got rid of, Phil Jackson, all this stuff. He made him look like the bad guy.
You didn't give him credit for
choosing Phil Jackson and getting rid of Doug
getting
Collins.
Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
And
getting
so much
Dennis
so that
Rodman.
when they were honoring Jerry Krause at a Bulls game like a year ago,
they booed him,
his
right?
widow came out. He had passed away. His
Yeah.
widow was out there and they booed.
Yeah, I remember that.
The crowd booed, and I'm like,
Fucking
Jordan, you did this. You should go on the mic and you should tell them to
Tell
stop
everyone to
it.
shut up.
Yeah.
Was Jordan there?
No, I don't think he was there. But like, it just is one of those
Wow.
moments where you're like, dude, you made this You didn't have to make that.
I mean,
about
it's
this
an
guy.
amazing story. Like, there are all these rumors that like he went away. Like the NBA made him go away to like play baseball
Right.
because he had been gambling. He might have been gambling on like they don't know if he was
Right.
gambling on games, but like he was playing the game with the security guards where you throw the
I
coin
remember
as
that
close to the
scene,
wall.
yeah.
Did you ever see the SNL sketch that they did about
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
Where what's her name? She's so funny. She played the like wispy haired security guard.
Yeah.
And the joke was that they kept
Scene
like,
Pedrad or no?
no. It was Heidi.
Gardner.
Yeah. Okay.
And she
What's the joke?
And the joke is that Jordan just kept wanting to keep playing and like taking their money and taking their house.
Oh,
and
yeah.
He owns like their kids.
yeah.
This dumb quarter game.
Yeah.
I mean, that what shows exactly who it is. And you say to yourself, why is Jordan in the back of the clubhouse with the security guards playing a game, not with his teammates, not hanging out the whole time?
Right.
He's back there with those guys.
But it's kind of like the Michael Jackson of it all, like we talked earlier. Like there was a time when he was younger when he had to sort of respect those that were ahead of him, and he didn't become this like mega superstar, greatest of all time. But once you're kind of in that rarefied air up there, the bummer is that like if you're a good person, you can share it with other people. You can actually be cool, and you can be like LeBron, speaking of the Olympics, had an unbelievable run on the Olympics, and he was part of this team. And like he and Steph, who had fought, not fought, but like had
kind of clowned each other.
Yeah. And Kevin
Durant, they loved him. And
it was
like
so cool.
Wasn't that cool to see that?
Oh my God.
I was like,
very cool.
So anyway, that's
That-
fine.
You want to tell the strip club story?
Sure, yeah. Why
Let's
not?
do this, and then I gotta go. All right, let's do this.
So Friday night we have our friend's birthday party,
Yes.
and my closest friends that are not like internet people, they're all from where I'm from. We get together, we're all 30 plus, right?
Yeah.
These guys are like frat guys, all of us together. It's just
Ready
like
to
they like
go.
to drink and go, but they work fucking hard and they make a lot of money.
Sure.
So after David's party, whatever, we get the body shop on Sunset across from Saddle Ranch. They reopened it, and it's pretty sick in there.
Come on.
So this guy, him and a couple other friends, we fucking go get a private room. It's like $15K. Get like 7-8 strippers up there, some friends, and we're partying in there with a couple party favors. To be honest,
Yeah.
Until like,
Which means you can stick a finger up someone's ass.
Yeah.
Someone can sit on your
Yeah,
thumb.
yeah.
I don't know. I'm like asking.
Okay.
I'm literally asking.
a couple times, yeah.
Your party favor is syphilis. That's what you get to walk home with. The gift giving.
You get some gonorrhea.
Yeah. Your party
it's gonna
gift burn when you pee
Your
for a
party
month.
gift may lay dormant for 3 years and then come back.
Herpes is not gonna live.
That's right.
But until like 7 a.m., right? And
Oh my
And are they just bringing bottles and
we have
bringing stuff?
bottles, yeah, and then just like ones, the whole floor is covered with ones.
Sure.
The club is open till 7 a.m.?
Well,
For them?
not for us.
Oh, for you
'Cause
guys.
It's like a
you know,
Dave and Buster's.
Yes,
like at
exactly.
At closing time. People like got to sweep up all the tickets.
Exactly. And then the fucking next night, these motherfuckers.
Excuse
they
me.
keep
It's
going.
a Dave and Bust on her. All right. Busting on her. Right.
We did it again,
Second.
but on the main floor on Saturday night,
God.
and it's like another $15K.
You went back.
We went back, yeah.
Seconds.
Who's
And-
throwing the $15K down? Your friends?
A couple of my buddies. I try to give them something, but these guys make like
Yeah, you're like you
way
pay
too
for
much
it.
money.
You pay for it.
Yeah. It's fuck. And then they had girls that they were like kind of hooking up with from the strip club,
Wait,
and so we had like an entourage.
they're single
of-
and they're hanging out with the strippers.
yeah, taking them home.
By the way,
getting breakfast. with them.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
Totally fine. I mean, there is a little bit of a power dynamic going on.
here we
right
go.
there. But
Power. It seems like they've got the power. They got
Right,
30
they got
grand
the
in their
money.
Just
pocket.
made a lot of money.
But strippers are attractive too, because it's like they're kind of this like allure, like you can't like really touch them,
No,
so
you
you always
can't.
want to fall in love with a stripper,
sure.
and it happens, and then we all went to they all went to breakfast the next morning, Sunday morning. I'm like,
With the
That's always
strippers?
fun. That's
With the
always
strippers,
fun
yeah.
to like get their order.
yeah.
What are you gonna get? Moons over my hammy?
Spam and
Right.
eggs.
Got Rudy Tooty fresh and fruity over here.
So it was just like
Wow.
back to back nights. It was just like, what the fuck? is going
Same
on?
strippers both nights? Or no? Did you cross over?
We cross over, but two of the same strippers were with us
Right.
from the night before.
And what are they thinking? Like this
Oh,
is
they
like,
love it. They're like,
welcome in, boys.
More
Like,
ones,
here we
more
go.
ones, more ones.
More fun.
It was just fucking.
More ones, more fun. More ones, more fun.
As long as they had a good time. And
As
everyone
long as
did what
everyone had
they
a good time and
Everybody
everyone
was
was-
consenting. God bless.
Yes, I asked Jason to come
Have a
with, but
great
he
night.
wasn't answering his phone.
Have a good night.
You know?
Have a good night.
Yeah.
You guys
Enjoy
sound like two
yourself.
principals.
No, like, we'll look the other way. On our watch, as long as no one's complaining.
We're gonna be in the girls' gym. You do what you gotta do.
As far as I'm concerned, it's a great audition.
Invite us next time.
I love it.
Crazy.
Guys, thank you, everybody. Randy, Jason Sklar, go to supersklars.com. They have 8 comedy albums you can listen to.
Podcast is Dumb People Town.
Six comedy albums. Podcast is Dumb People Town, which Jay will be on. And if you're a sports fan, which some of you are, some of you aren't, I know we talked a lot of sports. View from the Cheap Seats is our weekly sports podcast.
Our website is supersklars.com. Come see us live. It's so fun to
You
come
can follow
see
us on Instagram.
You're going to be
everything.
at the Ice House very soon at the end of August
And then
in Pasadena.
Largo doing another tag in LA on
September 9th.
Amazing.
So check that out. And it's at Sklar Brothers for everything. Just follow us on that.
And Todd, you can see Todd
Yeah, it's fine.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Instagram.
Thanks, man.
Snapchat.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. We should go to a show.
Come on the 9th.
Yeah, we should go to
Come on the
Largo
9th.
show.
Cool.
Come September 9th to
All right,
Largo.
cool.
We'll
Sweet,
be there.
yeah.
Guys, thank you so much. My thanks to Keto on the ones and twos. We will see you next time. Bye-bye.